Hi and welcome back to Impactology Live. I'm very excited to welcome our next two guests to the session. I first heard about their story when I read this amazing book, Paragon, Bassam Aramin Rami Elhanan. Bassam was a Palestinian freedom fighter who at the age of 17 was incarcerated and imprisoned in an Israeli jail for 7 years. Initially he had a lot of anger towards his captors, but after watching Schindler's List, he gained some empathy towards what they had gone through in the Holocaust and changed his mindset towards it. In 2005, he co-founded the Combatants for Peace, an organisation of former Israeli and Palestinian combatants coming together to discuss peace. Unfortunately, 2 years later, his daughter Abir was shot by an Israeli soldier. Rami is an Israeli who's the son of Holocaust survivors and a former soldier in the Israeli army. He lost his daughter Smadar in 1997 to a suicide bomber. Several years later, he met Bassam at the Combatants for Peace. Together, the two of them have toured the world with a message of peace and dialogue over discourse. They were featured in the 2020 Booker Prize-winning novel that I mentioned earlier, Paragon. We'd like to welcome Bassam and Rami.
Thank you.
Welcome, gentlemen. We are going live and streaming, so if anyone out there is watching and has some questions, please fire away and we'll read them out as we go along.
Thank you. Thanks, Ash. And welcome, Rami and Bassam. It's such a pleasure to have you here with us this evening, Melbourne time, but of course, morning your time. We're very, very appreciative of your time. Ash and I have both had an opportunity to read a Paragon, and that's obviously, you know, the story told through Colm and the fantastic story that he told at that. We'd love to hear from you today, your story, and we've got some various questions, but what I want to start with is your connection, that first meeting at Combatants for Peace. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And perhaps, Rami, we'll start with you.
I met Bassam in 2005. My oldest son, Elik, who served in an elite commando unit in the Israeli army, later on became a refusenik and was among the founders of Combatants for Peace. And me and my wife, Nurit, we were standing by the cradle of the birth of this magnificent movement, which combines together Israelis and Palestinians, ex-war criminals and terrorists in a joint effort to achieve peace through non-violence meaning. And the rest is history. I mean, we became very close friends. The families got together. We went to their house in Anata. They came to our house in Jerusalem. We became very, very close. Bassam always says that I fell in love with him. I think it's the opposite is the right thing to say. We became very, very close. And then in 2007, January 16, I got a telephone call telling me that Abir was wounded and she's on her way to the hospital. Me and my wife, we ran away to the hospital. We spent 2 days beside her bed. For me, it was like losing my daughter for the second time after I lost my daughter in September 4th, 1997. And it was devastating. And then while we were standing together, Bassam, I said to Bassam, I was really collapsed. I lost every kind of hope. And I said to Bassam, what are we going to do now? And he looked at me and he said, God is testing us. And I looked at him and I realized that we became brothers in pain.
Bassam, from your perspective, Combatants of Peace, you were obviously both involved in it beforehand, before your tragic loss. Can you tell us a little bit more about Combatants for Peace and what it does and what it has achieved?
You know, they said the hero of heroes who make his enemy as a friend. And this is exactly what happened. we are enemies. We did our best to kill each other. And in one point, we understand that from our side, the Palestinian ex-prisoners or ex-fighters, that this conflict cannot be solved in a military solution. And the evidence more than 100 years, we are trying to kill each other, to defeat each other. And the result is just more blood, more pain, more victims. And from the Israeli side, they get to understand that the answer to the Israeli security is not the occupation at all. They just create more enemies in the Palestinian side because we are not going to disappear even after 3,000 years. So we get to understand that we are the tools of this war. We understand that the answer for the security is only peace. The Israelis will never feel free until I feel free, the Palestinians. So this was a very brave and noble movement with very brave and special and unique persons to unite our unit and to get to understand that we need to talk. This is what we understand, and our slogan was what Nelson Mandela says. If you want to make peace with your enemy, you need to work with your enemy. Then he became your partner. So this was our goal, to create a partnership between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and especially the fighters, the people who know exactly the price of peace and war. So it starts with 4 Palestinians, 7 Israelis. It started as a dream. Today we are more than 700 to maybe thousands of supporters. It's become a very strong movement among the Israelis and the Palestinians. They raise up their voice with a very moral message that we need to end the occupation. So I'm very proud of this movement, of those friends who continue the way in spite or the difficulties or the political situation. And we know that we are in the right side, because every day we have new friends, new generations who want to join us. It's too much to go back to the history of around 100 years of fighting and killing each other.
And to your point, I guess, Bassam, if it is not achieving, and it hasn't achieved during that lengthy time, what it set out to achieve in terms of harmony, then the easy answer is to say surely it's time to do something different. But of course we know that the situation is a lot more complex than that. The Parent Circle is another association that you're both now a part of, and that's how our association commenced, in terms of hearing more about the work that you do with the Parent Circle. You're both very actively involved. Are you able to let us know, Rami, what your role, both of you, is in the Parent Circle, and again, what has it achieved?
Well, Bassam has joined the Parent Circle one day after he lost his daughter. I was a member of the Parent Circle from the year 1998. This is a unique organization that combines together Israelis and Palestinians who lost their loved ones in this conflict, and have decided to use this pain, which has an energy, nuclear energy, to try to prevent more killing, more bereavement. So Bassam has joined the Parent Circle. We became very close friends and very active friends in the name of the Parent Circle throughout the years, until in the end, before 3 or 4 months, we stopped being the general managers of this organization, which we did for the last 2 to 4 years from the past. And this is really an amazing organization, because the aim of these organizations is to put crack in this wall of hatred and fear that divide these 2 nations today. And we believe that through these cracks, a little light can come in. And a little light can drive away a lot of darkness. And this is the aim of the organization, to do whatever is possible to penetrate this wall of anger and hatred, and to show that there are people on both sides who are willing to look forward in spite of what happened to them.
Fantastic. And we will be sharing a link to the Parent Circle if anyone wants more information about that organisation or even to donate to the cause. That would be great. So check this afterwards. I mentioned at the start the book where I first heard your story, A Paragon, written by Colin McCann. Bassam, can you tell us how he approached you to tell your story? How did that come about?
Yeah, in fact, Callum was among one of the delegations that we meet and give a talk. But he was special. We talked to thousands of people. Almost all of them promised to act and to do something. But, everyone has his own issue. Callum was very special. Rami can describe how he was crying as a baby. Then after that, he asked us that he want to write a novel about us. I thought it's a report, maybe 1 day meeting, 2 days, takes 5 years. We fell in love with this genius human beings. Then he wrote this novel. The strange thing that until today, I didn't read it.
Wow.
It's very difficult. I start to read it, in fact.
Yeah.
Rami is more brave than me. It's very difficult. It's really difficult for me,
Yeah.
even to read how he described the death of the girls. But I said to him, I promise in 1 day I will read it. For us, it gives us another big opportunity to spread our message among millions of people, especially after Steven Spielberg wrote by the rights of the book.
Absolutely.
To be a movie. Also, it's another opportunity for people to read our message and see our message as a movie, because it's not our message. It's not only for the Palestinians and the Israelis. It's for everyone, because we are all human beings. We face many difficulties in our life. It shows how we can use our pain in a different way, not only for revenge. Yeah.
Perfect. You mentioned Steven Spielberg, which is a good segue into my question. He's bought the film rights and will hopefully make a movie. So which actors would you like to see play you in his movie, if you had a choice of any actor?
Bassam will be played by Brad Pitt. I know, I can feel it.
And what about you, Rami?
I don't know. I hope that Sean Connery can do it, but he passed away.
It's a bit late. Fantastic. Well, I'm sure Steven will make a great film. So back to the book. How much input did you have into the book? You said it took 5 years. Was a lot of to and froing, or did you have to change anything? How much did he capture of your story?
Well, I've read the book twice. Once on the way to the United States on the plane, and now when I was on vacation in Greece. It's a very special book. I think it's not being objective, of course, but it is a masterpiece because he was able to get under our skin. He was able to get into our minds, into our thoughts, into our hopes, and into our pain and sorrow. And he was doing it in a way that it's layer on layer on layer on layer. It comes to you from different directions. He speaks about the production of rubber bullets and of birds migration and any other. He pushes you from issue to issue, from item to item, and back then to the most painful moments. It's very powerful. It's very powerful, and I'm honored to be part of it. It's not really me. The feeling is that you are listening to yourself being recorded. When you read about yourself, it's awkward in many ways. But I think for people who read it from the outside, who do not know what the problems of this region are, it's a masterpiece. It's a must read.
Yeah, it's I'm a writer myself, and it's beautifully written. The way he's done it, it's poetic. It just drew me in from the start. I couldn't put it down. I think it took me one day to read, which is amazing considering I have kids who don't let me read.
Yeah, it's the complexity of the book is part of the beauty and its charm, and as you say, Rami, it builds. I completely agree. It draws you in from all angles. It also keeps you on your toes as a reader. It is a difficult. There are two difficult stories entwined in the book, but the fact that the author has been able to capture the attention by almost some of the chapters are one line, it is beautifully written, and I agree. A masterpiece is not overstating it at all. Rami, you touched before on the fact that when Bassam lost Abir 10 years after you lost Smadar and your family lost Smadar, that it was very difficult for you to go through this again, and your husband, your wife and yourself, you spent 2 days bedside vigil. How does this feel now? 10 years later, or 10 years later after you lost your daughter, how did it feel at the time to have to go through that, unfortunately again?
Well, it's 23 years for me and 13 years for Bassam, and the pain is the same. This is one wound that never heals. It's open, it's there 24 hours a day, 60 seconds of every minute, and it's not easy. Time is not a healer in this case. The only question is, what do you do with it? The only question, it's an energy, it's a nuclear energy. And most of the people take it to the direction of anger, of revenge, of retaliation, and I cannot blame them. This is the nature of human being. But then when you face yourself and you ask yourself if killing anyone will bring my daughter back, will causing pain to someone will ease this pain, the rational thinking and the more human thinking must open your heart to the pain of the other side, of others who do not look like you, who do not speak the same language as you are, and their story is different than yours. And to learn this story and to start this journey towards the other side in order to understand what happened. Why did it happen? How could such a horrible thing take place? What can cause someone to blow himself up with 14 years old little kid? And do you have some kind of responsibility yourself? So this is a process, it's a journey, it's still going on. My luck is that I met someone like Bassam, who is a huge leader and human being, who taught me the wisdom of forgiving, which it's not in my culture.
It's a beautiful segue actually into my next question, and it's a hard question actually for me to ask you both. Bassam, I'm going to start with you for this question. Rami says that he has found the forgiveness. I want to ask you, have you found the forgiveness for the people who took your daughter from you? And if you have, how have you been able to find that forgiveness?
Yeah, it's complicated because of our nature as human beings. But everything around us, I mean, the religion, the values, teach us to forgive. But we learn about the prophets. And when someone kills your daughter, you cannot say, God, forgive them because they know not what they do, because I am not Jesus. I am not Moses. I am not Abraham. I am Muhammad. In fact, they forgive as human beings, and they want to teach us that you are our followers. You can forgive. For me, it's not a personal problem between me and this victim or the killer who killed my daughter. He's a victim, exactly. He think he protect the Jewish nation or the Jewish dream, or he's a victim to his history, to his education, to his culture, whatever. And always I believe that forgiveness, it's for yourself. If you can forgive yourself, you cannot do anything better than what you did. And sometimes we blame ourselves forever for nothing. You are not responsible. You cannot change it. You have a responsibility. In my case, I have another 5 kids. They deserve to live and to have education. I don't want them to be victims to this victim forever. So it's to release yourself from this fear. You will feel even physically more healthy. Always I said, if I meet this killer and he asks to forgive him, I will take my revenge without any mercy by forgiving him. Again, it's for myself, for my family, for my kids. In the same time, to teach this, he's a human being, he's not a serial killer. To understand that killing kids is forbidden under any circumstances. And this was my revenge, in fact, to call him to come to ask me to forgive him if he announced that, yes, I kill your daughter. But it never happened. It's very complicated to seek justice under the Israeli occupation because, unfortunately, it's not a crime to kill a Palestinian. It's not written anywhere. But you will never find an Israeli be trialed or punished because Israeli soldier, because he killed a Palestinian. Except one soldier 3 years ago, he spent 9 months in jail. So for the Palestinians, those people didn't see us, they didn't count us, which create more anger. It's a very racist regime among the Palestinians. So for me, Abir blood is a motivation, as Rami said, to continue spread the light for her memory and the Smadar memory. They are the same, between them 10 years, but it's the same killer. It's the occupation, the hatred, the victimhood mentality. So always I said, we are bigger than our pain and bigger than our sadness because we are human beings.
Yeah, that's the great attitude to have, I think. In the book, obviously, it talks about your time in jail, Bassam, and you watch your attitude change. At first, you only had hatred towards the Israelis, and then you began to empathise with them. Can you talk a bit about that experience and what changed in you?
Yeah, it's not among the Israelis, it's among the Jewish, which is different. And this is the relationship between me and Steven Spielberg. We don't know each other. But after I watched this movie by chance, in the beginning, I understand that this is about Hitler and the Jews. And Hitler killed the Jews, and the Jews occupied me, occupied the Palestinians. So I said to myself in the beginning, why he didn't kill all of them? Otherwise, I am not going to be in their jail. But after a few minutes, I found myself crying, sympathy with those people. I didn't understand this criminal, why he killed them, the kids, the women, the ordinary people. And what happened that I wish this director will meet me and make a movie about the Palestinians so the rest of the world can cry on our situation, our Nakba, to see the occupation. Because I get to understand that after years when I studied the Holocaust, that the biggest pain among the Jews was that no one knew about their tragedy, about this crime. So I believe no one knew in that time about the Palestinians. And I wish him to make this movie so the people can know what we are suffering in the occupied territories. Yes, we are human beings. Even in that time, I consider the Jews as my enemies, but I get to cry because they are human beings. Even I get angry because they didn't fight in the movie. Yeah. It means, in spite they are my enemies, but because I'm a freedom fighter, as I thought, so I need everyone to be a fighter against injustice, including the Jews. So this movie, in fact, pushed me after so many years to study the Holocaust and to get to understand that this ongoing fear in the Jewish mentality, and especially with the Israelis. So if you don't recognize this pain, it's very difficult to understand when the Israelis talk about security. It's too much. It's unbelievable that a nuclear weapon state, a very strong state, scared from few kids in Gaza. But it's there. This is the fear. And this is the victimhood mentality. But it's not illusion. It's there. It's built on a real history. And this is what I try to understand and to study because I want to know how to approach the Israelis, to talk to them, to the Jews, and to respect this very painful past that the Jewish go through.
Yes, that's true. So obviously you two have come together and you do a lot of talks around the world. I've seen you described as having a husband and wife type relationship. I won't ask who's who. But we've got a question that's come through from a Chris who wants to know, over the years, how has your relationship evolved between each other? Spending so much time together and talking about your message.
Just to say that quickly, since we start until today, I think for me it's the same. I enjoy every second when I spend it with Rami in a talk, personally, when he make jokes, whatever. I cannot imagine my life without Rami. It's very simple.
And you, Rami, do you have the same feelings?
He hates me.
Is that why you're in separate houses at the moment?
I think that our pain brought us together. And it's impossible for people who did not suffer this horrible experience to understand what we feel and what is the background of our friendship. We can understand each other without even saying one word. And this is taking part so long, for so many years, that we really became as one. One family, one unit, one entity. And it goes on not only for ourselves and also for our families, our wives, our kids, who are also together exactly like us. So I think the power of pain works in very different directions. Most of the people are yield up to this power and go to the other direction than ours. And I'm really happy and thankful and grateful that we found the strength, both of us, to see the light and go to the light, which really is a matter of survival for us.
You said just off camera before we started to ask any difficult questions to Bassam, so I'll direct this one to him. Bassam, if you were sitting right now with Benjamin Netanyahu, what would you say to him about the process? What would you like from him?
That's really a question for Bassam.
Yeah, I told you he gets the difficult ones.
Next question, please.
Not an option.
Fair enough.
You know, we are human beings, and Mr. Netanyahu is also human beings. And always I believe that human beings can change for bad and for good. In fact, I wish to meet him, to talk to him, and to try to release him from the victimhood mentality. He thinks he's a victim. He don't believe in anyone. He don't trust anyone. And he hosts us. He detained all the Palestinians because of his fear. And maybe I can convince him to stop to be corrupt. He's very corrupt. And this is what the occupation did. And it was a very beautiful slogan in the demonstrations against him that the occupation deserved a leader like Netanyahu. So in one day, we will be free and he will go like his friend in the White House We will remain, the Israelis and the Palestinians. Maybe I will convince him to stop, invest on our suffering, on our blood, in the suffering of the Holocaust survivors even, in the settlers and the Palestinian kids. Our blood, all the victims in Israel and Palestine, דמם בראשו. איך אומרים את זה, רמי?
איך תגיד עוד פעם?
שלו.
עוד פעם, תחזור, לא שמעתי.
הדם של הילדים שלנו בראש שלו.
Oh, the blood of our children is on his head.
He's responsible for this blood among the Israelis and the Palestinians. He will never be unique because he repeat himself. Another occupation, another prime minister. He never make any change. But as I said, people are people. Maybe he will become great once and declare that that's it, like Sharon. We cannot continue occupying another people forever. Then he will find his photos in Gaza. People will celebrate this brave leader. I hope so.
We've just got another question which has come through from a Sarah. At the moment, the world's a challenging and unpredictable place. Your pain has brought you together. There's obviously conflict around the world. We've seen quite a lot of it in the United States of late, in particular around the Black Lives Matter movement. What do you think they could learn from what you've done and your relationship in overcoming conflict and trying to bring dialogue to the forefront?
Well, I think our message is first and for all is universal. And the ability to look at people who do not look like you, who do not speak the same language as you are, who do not think like you are, who are different, is essentially the only way to move forward. Even for those 70 million Americans that voted for Trump, they are not criminals. They are not. They are different, really. And we need to understand the difference, and we need to understand why 70 million people voted for this racist lunatic. And the reasons are much deeper than we can. So it's all about listening. It's all about understanding. You have to be able to listen to the pain of the answer and understand the origin of it. Then you can correct, then you can mend.
Bassam, we know that mindsets, and being a parent now, I understand this, mindsets are ingrained in our children from toddler age. And a lot of those mindsets come from us as parents, role models. It's the actions that our children see, it's what we hear, it's what they hear that we say, it's how they see us behave. What can we do as a society in terms of stopping it? And I guess it's around racism, and to pick up on the question that Ash has asked, the simple belief I have is that if our children see us saying and doing different things, then hopefully that pauses it, it breaks that mindset for them around, that's probably not, I'll follow what mum and dad are doing. I'm not going to follow what some crazy leaders, quite frankly, are doing out there. What else can parents do? How can we stop these mindsets being ingrained in our toddlers from such a young age?
Our national poet, late Mahmoud Darwish, says, I have no time to hate those who hates me. I am busy to love those who loves me. These values, no one hates his kids. We love them, we want to protect them. We did our best to protect them. But in our situation, it's very difficult to teach these values. After you talk to your kids about love and dialogue, they will go 15 meters, they will find a checkpoint. And this checkpoint, you cannot talk to them. They are for you is killing machines. You will face the separation wall. So it's very difficult to teach for love or peace or dialogue. For that, we have a very difficult mission to plant these seeds of dialogue and peace and nonviolence in our kids. And I have this tragedy after my tragedy with my daughter. My son, he escaped 3 times from his school to throw stones. He wanted to take revenge. He don't understand. It takes 5 years or 4 years to convince him that this is not the way, because you cannot enforce anyone to follow your way. After 4 years to understand that this is not the way, and you cannot only explain to him, he needs to see you practice. When I go to any lecture in Israel, I take him with me to any demonstration so he can learn the power of dialogue, the power of non-violent. And luckily, after 4 years, he joined the parent circle. He started to be active, and he get to understand this value, and he find to himself another partner in the Israeli side in his age. His name is Yigal Elhanan, by chance, Rami's son. And they start to give talks around, also in Palestine, Israel, and around the world, how they make peace with themselves. So it's not easy, really, it's not easy. But we need to do our best, first of all, to teach our kids. And for that, we give hundreds of lectures, among that in high schools, among Israel and Palestine, and mainly in Israel, because of these reasons. We want to let them understand or start to think that not all the Palestinians are terrorists. And for the Israelis, not all the Israelis are soldiers in the checkpoints. Because most of the Palestinians, they only meet soldiers. So those are the Israelis that they know. These are the Jews that they know. So it's very difficult to change this reality.
The message that I hear from both of you is one of empathy, and it's one of love. And quite frankly, having finished the book, it's hard for me to understand how you can feel that, both of you, given what you have gone through as fathers, what your families have gone through at the loss of your daughters. And all I can say is it's, it is astounding and amazing that empathy and love can come through. And you've said the word human, many times, and it is that human to human connection and understanding that it doesn't matter where we come from, what those mindsets and beliefs are. At the end of the day, we're made out of the same thing in here. And that's something that, we all need to remember.
Absolutely. I agree with every word.
So it's fascinating to hear that your sons are taking on your story. What do you hope that their legacy or your legacy will become? What do you want out of this?
We want them to
speak up, brother.
Rami. No way.
We are like Arafat and Barak at Camp David. I don't think it's about us personally. I think it's about our future and the lectures that we give at high schools, me and Bassam, and Arab and Igal, and every member of the parent circle and every member of Combatants for Peace. When we get into this high school class, most of these kids, Israelis and Palestinians, have never ever laid eyes on an Israeli or a Palestinian before. And for most of them, it's a first. And the ability of us to put this crack in the wall is amazing. You must understand that those kids are going through a brainwashing system. Mm-hmm. Israelis and Palestinians are afraid of each other. And they are told in their schools, in their school books, how to hate each other and how to ignore each other. So we show them the other way, and we create a crack in the wall. And this is amazing because for me, even if in the end of the class there will be only one kid, Israeli or Palestinians, who will nod his head with acceptance of this joint message, it's kind of a miracle. Yeah. It means that we saved one drop of blood. In Judaism, one drop of blood is the whole world. So when they ask me in the end, what do you think the solution may be? 1 state or 2 states? I tell them, I don't care. I don't care. We can have 1 state, we can have 2 states, we can have 10,000 states, we can have federation, we can have confederation. The agreement is on the table waiting to be signed, and everybody knows exactly what needs to be done in order to stop it. One word is essential, and this word is respect. And the minute you are able to respect the guy next to you as you want to be respected, all the rest are technicalities that can be solved. And then in the end, they asked me, so what do you think? I think that the happiest day of my life will be when Mr. Bassam Aramin, my brother, will be elected to be the president or the king or the emperor of Israel and Palestine forever without the necessity to be re-elected. It will be a beautiful day.
That would be an amazing experience. And
But
that's
I
how
want it in Australia.
you can have 2 kings, yeah, sharing the power. But that's a beautiful message, and I think you're right that if you can just change one person, one mind at a time, it's a step closer. We've just got a couple of questions that we finish with and ask all our guests, which I'd like to ask you both. Firstly, and I'd like you both to answer this one, but if you're on a video call with yourself as an 18-year-old, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Now, you have to repeat it. I didn't understand you're Australian.
I get that a lot, hey? If you were on a video call with yourself as an 18-year-old, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
To my 10 years old myself,
Yeah,
when I was 10 years
When you
old.
were 18.
18.
Oh my God, this is really terrifying. When I was 10 years old, I want to be a pilot. I want to be a soldier. I want to be a hero. I wanted to save the world. I wanted to build little airplanes that will attack the enemy and so on. It's very difficult for me to look back when I was 10 years old because I was brainwashed. I was a victim of a system that brainwashed my mind and did anything possible to hide this noble person from me. And I paid the highest price possible. So I will be able to start the journey in order to know him, his culture, his history, his songs, his food, everything.
Fantastic. We always finish with a little word game. So what I'm going to do, and you can both answer this, is I'm going to give you one word.
No, but I want to listen to Bassam when he was 10 years old.
I never was 10 years old. Find myself as a wise man since the beginning. In fact, when I was 10 years old, I was maybe the happiest guy on earth. I had everything that I need. I lived in a cave where I born. No cell phones, no Zooms, no meetings. I don't know anything about the Muslims, the Arabs, the Palestinians, the Israelis, the Americans. Very far away from this civilization. I think with like in the middle mountains with the nature and I was very happy, in fact.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were at their happiest when there was a child, and especially with no social media and no Zoom. I agree with that one. So we're just going to finish with a game. I'm going to throw a word at you both, and if you can just tell me the first word that comes back out of your mind when you hear this. So, peace.
Love.
Rami?
Respect.
Love.
My wife. That's out of fear.
Yeah. You have to say that, don't you? It would have been
So I
strange if you
can't
said
say
for some. Hatred.
sick.
Not working.
Hope.
Life.
Necessity.
Falafel.
Tasty.
And finally, forgiveness.
Problematic.
It's wisdom.
Wisdom. Very nice. Well, Bassam and Rami, it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you both and to hear your inspiring and motivational message. I urge everyone who hasn't read the book to get the book, to visit the website where you can donate or learn more, and to see Brad Pitt play Bassam in the upcoming Steven Spielberg movie. Thank you very much for your time, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bassam and
Thank
Rami.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much for everything. Thank
And
you.
really, Parent Circle and other organizations really need your help. Thank you.
So we'll pop the details of the Parent Circle in the comments. So as we said at the beginning, please check out their website, please donate. You've heard how worthy the cause is. There are lots of worthy causes, but this one in particular, once you delve a little bit more into the story, you'll understand why. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night. Thank you.
Just beginning our day.
Have a good day.
Okay. Take care.